Increasing the lifespan of your well should be one of your top priorities. Calling Hydro Resources is the easy solution to do just that. Since the 1940s as Hinkle Drilling and 1999 as Hydro Resources, they have been providing groundwater service and solutions to ag producers, municipalities, and more. Whether it's well drilling and construction, pumping system design and installation, controls, pump services and maintenance, or well services and rehabilitation, Hydro Resources is the answer. Find out more information at hydroresources.com. With locations in Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, they have a wide service area, so let them help you with your groundwater needs today.
Welcome to the Hydro Resources Community Brunch on Dry River Radio. Each week we visit a different community in southwest Kansas to see what they have going on. If you miss a part of the show, no problem. Visit our Facebook or YouTube pages or even our website at dryriverservices.com. Now for your Hydro Resources Community Brunch, here's your host, Joey Dean.
And welcome to this week's Hydro Resources Community Brunch right here on Dry River Radio. I'm Joey Dean, and along with me is Lona Duvall from the Finney County Economic Development. How are you today?
I'm awesome, thanks.
So tell us, what does the Finney County Eco Devo, what do you guys do exactly?
Well, we would love to know what it is we're supposed to be doing now. So it's pretty broad-ranging. I think you find this when you talk to folks in different communities. Everybody kind of has a different idea of what does economic development or community development do. In Finney County, we're very active really in every aspect of attracting businesses, creating new housing opportunities, creating job opportunities, retail development. In a lot of areas, that's not necessarily part of what economic development does. But in Garden City and Finney County, because we really are a regional hub, retail has kind of been a core tenet of our work, just because sales tax is a big part of what funds our local governments over here. So a little bit of everything, I guess, is the answer. It turns out we also do childcare. We didn't know that, but we were we were kind of led to lead the childcare efforts within the county several years ago as well. So pretty much anything that impacts the quality of life, the ability for our employers to attract new folks, and allows us to grow our community, falls under economic development.
And I know a lot of people think, Garden City when they think Finney County, but Finney County is more than just Garden City, right?
It is, right. So, we obviously have two incorporated cities, Garden City and Holcomb, two separate, distinct school districts, which I think is important to note too. The fact that we have a community college makes us a little different than some of the surrounding counties. Obviously, Seward and Ford have them too, but all of those things contribute to really how we do our jobs and how we're founded. So Finney County Economic Development is fully standalone corporation, but fully funded by tax dollars. So Finney County, City of Garden City Community College, and the City of Holcomb all contribute to our funding and to our oversight. So our board of directors, we have a 7-member board of directors, and each of those directors is appointed by one of those taxing entities.
How long have you been with Finney County Economic Development?
15 years.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, so I started with the corporation in June of 2010. So it's sometimes that seems like yesterday, and other times it seems like I've been doing this a lot longer, but incredibly blessed to work in this community and really in this region. We're really fortunate, again, as the hub of the Southwest Kansas region. We get to work with a lot of the smaller, more rural communities around us, and it's just an honor to do the work we get to do out here.
Yeah, I think it was 8 years ago I met you when I was doing the morning show on one of the local radio stations. So, and I think I originally met you through John Dahl, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Senator, he's a character.
He's pretty cool. Yeah, we kind of like John.
He's one of my favorite people. We're talking with Lona Duvall from the Finney County Economic Development here on your Hydro Resources Community Brunch this week. So what are some things like
I talked with Matt Allen a little bit about this, and maybe this question goes to you a little bit more. But when businesses are looking at Finney County or Garden City or this area, what's the process in trying to attract those businesses?
Right. So every project is a little bit different. I think probably first we should have the distinction of, is somebody calling us, or are we recruiting a business, right? So in most of our industrial work that you see, those have been pretty deliberate attractions on our part. So when we look at Dairy Farmers of America plant, or the Empirical Foods plant, or the TPNL Logistics Hub, all of those industries were pretty intentional recruitment by us. So we determined that, hey, these are gaps that we have for whatever reason, right? We knew we had a lot of milk production, we should have a milk processor. We know we have a lot of beef production, we should have a further processor of beef. We know we have a lot of stuff that needs to get in and out of the region, we should have a logistics hub. So those were more intentional, directed efforts on our part to say, okay, let's find out who's really good at doing whatever those missing pieces are, and then attract them to the community. So there's that direction that we go. In that case, obviously we're gonna build a proposal. We're gonna show them why this is a place they want to be doing business. Okay. Same with retailers. We're consistently doing gap analysis on retail sectors, on restaurant sectors, those types of things, and then we go through and say, okay, if we need a tire store, who's the best that we should be looking at when we're looking to fill that gap within the market. So they work both ways. Sometimes we're identifying what we want here and how we're going to go get it. Other times they're calling us up and saying, hey, we went into the market. How does that work? So every prospect works a little differently. Some of them need more assistance than others. When we're talking about industrial development specifically, they have a lot of unique infrastructure needs, right? We're going to need to help them with water and wastewater and natural gas and electricity. So all of those land, rail, highway, roads, whatever it might be. So there's a whole kind of playbook when we're dealing with industrial. And then the next step of that is, okay, great. We can accommodate all of that. Can we get the people they need? Can we train the people they need? And again, that's where our partnership and our formation is kind of unique to how well we can perform, because it just takes me sending a text message and our college president is in the meeting with us and saying, sure, here's what the community college can deliver. We're reaching out to our school district and saying, hey, how do we attract juniors and seniors to look at this is something, a career I'd like to pursue. Great, community college is going to customize the training. Let's get started. Let's get these kids on this path, when they're 16, 17, instead of waiting until, they're adults and then trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life, right? So a lot of times that's how the industrial stuff works, because they are a lot of work. They're kind of a heavy lift, and they're really a comprehensive lift, right? So everybody kind of has to be working the same direction on those. Residential stuff, very different. We, a lot of times we're, again, reaching out to multifamily developers that may be in Denver or Kansas City or Wichita, whatever, and selling them on the idea that, no, you really should come here and build some housing, because we need it all. Retail really is kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes, again, it's very intentional on our part that we're saying, hey, retailer X, we get a lot of requests for you. How can we help you make a decision to locate in Garden City or Finney County? So each project is really kind of different. And it's I think part of the magic sauce, if you will, out here is that all of our entities are in it together. And so regardless of who maybe is making that initial contact with that prospect, we quickly get the whole team together and say, okay, here's what's happening. How do we take this to the next step? Do we want to take this to the next step, right? Sometimes we have projects reach out that aren't a great fit for our community for whatever reason. Maybe their pay isn't high enough, or they're just going to be putting too much demand on one of our natural resources. So, sometimes it's a matter of how do we let them down easily, right? Other times it's, okay, we really like this. how do we make ourselves most attractive to get this deal done and put together for them? So it happens a lot of different ways.
We're talking with Lona Duvall from the Finney County Economic Development here on Hydro Resources Community Brunch. You mentioned housing. So 9 years ago when I moved out here, I stayed in Garden for a very short period of time, but couldn't really afford it on my hefty radio salary. And so I ended up finding a place in Ingalls. And it was hard to find places in Garden City to rent or buy or whatever at the time. Things have gotten better, I know, on the housing front, but there's still some housing issues in the Garden City area. I know I'm very happy in Ingalls now. My son, just last night, he was like, I kind of wish Ingalls was as big as Garden City. And I said, why? And he said, well, then we could go to McDonald's and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, I'm happy with no businesses, no traffic, I'll drive the 30 minutes to McDonald's, but not everybody's that way. I grew up in small town Kansas, so it fits me. But a lot of people want to live in Garden City. Is there anything you guys are working on right now, housing-wise, to try to remedy this situation?
There's a lot we're working on housing-wise, right? So, our housing study really for the last 6 to 8 years has shown about 4,000 housing units short within Finney County, right? We have the surrounding communities are pretty well full. There's not, even the smaller rural communities. You mentioned Ingalls. You look around. There's not a plethora of empty housing anywhere, right? So, and we knew that was going to happen, right? As we created more and more job opportunities within the community, we're a community already at full employment. We've had less than 2% unemployment pretty much for the entire time I've been in my position now. So. That is full employment, right? So every time we create new jobs, we're having to recruit new workforce. We've tried to convince everybody, if everybody who lives here would just get 3 jobs, that'd be great. That'd help us out some, right? Turns out people also want quality of life and work-life balance, which is silly, but okay. So housing's a big deal for us. Right now, like I said, the shortage shows somewhere around 4,000 units. We have somewhere around 1,000 units in the pipeline right now. And when we say in the pipeline, we mean people who are interested in actually developing that housing right now. So none of it happens as fast as we need it to. None of it gets built as quickly as we think it should, right? And then we have, little things like interest rates and pandemics and, just little things that pop up and modify the pathway, if you will, to getting the housing in place. But we are making some progress. We certainly are nowhere near where we need to be, but making good progress on that. It is tough, and we know it is. And housing is definitely one of those areas that supply and demand is in full effect. So as long as we have tremendous demand and very little supply, prices are going to stay high. For new construction, it just is what it is. And I don't say that to sound flippant, but the prices on those homes is where it's at because that's what it's costing to build them right now. I think it's really important that folks understand this is not, builders trying to take advantage of low supply. It really isn't. They are still getting pretty much the same margins that they've had for the last 30 years. It's just that the costs for construction have gone up that much. And so, when we talk about, we constantly have people saying, we need entry-level housing. Entry level, first of all, different for everybody, right? What one person thinks is entry level, it seems really, really expensive to someone else. So that's important to note. But really, when we're talking about, how do we get that, $150,000 house, if you're talking about owner-occupied housing, right now, probably just by freeing up some old stock. That's probably where we come down to, right? It's the new construction is just tough to get anywhere near 200,000, let alone 150,000. So for us, it's a matter of getting the new housing developed that we need, so that we give folks the opportunity to move up from that that older housing stock that can be priced in that lower price range for the next family that's ready to move from perhaps rent or occupied into their first owner occupied. So it is not as simple as it might sound, and we're also constantly looking at new technology. Is there a way to build a cheaper house? And we're staying on the forefront of that with our builders association, and we've looked at manufactured housing options. We've looked at 3D printed housing options. I'm going to look at some additional 3D printed communities now. We started talking with the 3D printed companies back in 2018. At that time, the technology just wasn't there to really get deep into it. But as with all things, technology continues to march forward, and so we're feeling confident that that's actually going to come to a place where there might be some solutions there for us. Is it the solution for everybody? Probably not. But if it allows us to build a couple hundred units that are less than 200,000, we're gonna pursue that, right? So all of that to say, if it was easy, it would already be handled and nobody would need me. But these are complex, challenging problems, and they require some really adaptive problem-solving skills that we're fortunate, again, to have a community that's focused on it and working on it. But none of it comes as quickly as we'd like.
I imagine that all communities at some point, that as they grow, hit that kind of wall with housing. I was just thinking about, as you were talking, like the places I've lived, just south of Washington, D.C., and Fredericksburg, Virginia, and Manhattan, Kansas, and Oklahoma City, and Wichita. And I remember opening the classifieds and there always being, empty places to move into.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were apartments.
Right.
You don't have a ton of apartment complexes here in Garden City. I know that they have massive ones in Oklahoma City. My wife and I both, that's how we met. We were maintenance people at an apartment complex, so much different than what I do now. But, these are, 1,000-unit apartment complexes down there. Is there any, are you guys more driven toward single-family homes, or is there talk for apartment complexes too?
We are driven to all of it. All of it. You can just stack houses up. You can, So, multifamily really creates some unique challenges for a market like ours, just because of our geographic location, right? We absolutely are constantly trying to get more apartments in, because it is typically a more affordable way to get started. Folks can get into the community, kind of live in the community for a bit before they decide where they may want to buy a home, those types of things. The problem is that we don't have multifamily developers here. We have a lot of great single family home builders here, and duplexes, fourplexes, that kind of thing. But when we're talking about, what you're bringing up, these apartment complexes, especially on the larger scale, we just don't have those builders here. So now when we're talking about those, we're absolutely having to go to the Wichita market, the Kansas City market, the Denver market, to try to find those developers and get them interested in coming out here and building a project. That has some unique challenges of its own. A lot of those multifamily developers aren't familiar at all with our community, and so we tell our story to them and say, I know it looks like we couldn't support this kind of development, but trust us, we can, right? We really can. So they're a little tougher to sell, number one. Number two, they're busy in their markets that they're in, right? So we do sometimes get an advantage, and this sounds terrible, but sometimes when those primary markets, the Denvers, the Kansas Cities, the Dallases, Oklahoma Cities, when those slow down for whatever reason, when they have an economic downturn of any kind, that sometimes frees up some of those builders to say, okay, tell us again about Garden City, this place we should be looking at, right? So yeah, it's not that we're not open to it. We're open to really any type of housing development. It's just a matter of finding the right spot for it, getting the right folks interested in doing it. As a community, we're doing our part. The city of Garden City is amazing at problem solving and coming to the table and saying, how can we make a project work for somebody? So, to anybody listening that has an interest in housing development, please call us. Don't just assume it can't be done, or assume that, if they wanted that housing, somebody would already do it. That's just not the case. We want it all. And we're certainly open to trying to find ways to problem solve and make housing happen really in any form.
We're talking with Lona Duvall from the Finney County Economic Development here on Hydro Resources Community Brunch today. So I brought this up with Matt Allen. We had a nice chuckle about it. And I brought it up with Nick Hernandez in Dodge City. I follow the Dodge City chat, the Garden City chat, the Liberal chat, all the little towns, Holcomb chat, Ashland. And it always cracks me up whenever a new business comes in and everybody's speculating on what it is. Of course, the top of the line, it's going to be an Olive Garden, it's going to be a Dave & Buster's, and I always kind of chuckle at that. But then people get mad when it's not those things, and it's something as simple as a Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Right. And I know you touched on how the process is to get businesses to come in, but like when you see that and you see that the community wants certain things, is that something that you guys reach out to those businesses and say, hey, we would love to have a Chick-fil-A here, by the way, but Chick-fil-A or whoever.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we actually do a lot of surveying. We're fortunate in our office to have a director of analytics, which no other economic development has, right? We're incredibly blessed to have Shannon Dick, a homegrown guy who works with us. And so, it's important to us to know what the community pulse is and what do folks want. Now, sometimes it's not something that's in reach, and we all get that, but it's helpful for us to know that, hey, these are the top 10 requested restaurants. These are the top 10 requested retailers. We take that a step further. We actually utilize a Placer AI, which is a software tool that allows us to see people who are leaving our region to go shop or to go to restaurants. We can actually see, based on cell phone tracking, where they're going in other markets. So we can see that, how many people from Finney County visited, you name it, a Chick-fil-A or some restaurant we don't have here. We can actually see that. And we don't know who they are. It's okay, Joey. We don't know it's you.
When you see that it's like 4 times.
Yeah, that's how you know it's me. Yeah. Okay.
It's me.
That's how we know it's you. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So we can't, again, we don't see the individual cell phone, but we see those numbers, which is actually very helpful to us, right? It gives us a really concrete way to talk to those brands and say, no, look, we're already supporting you. People are driving 200 miles to see you right now. It would pay to have you here, right? So yeah, we absolutely take that to heart. I have to tell you, I have never had chicken. I have never eaten chicken.
Really?
No. And not because I have anything against chickens. I have chickens that live in my yard and give me eggs, and they're great, and I love them. I've just never had a desire to actually eat chicken. So if it were up to me, we wouldn't have any chicken restaurants, right? Because that wouldn't come across my radar.
Right.
So obviously, we're paying attention to what the community wants, because we have several new chicken franchises, right? So yeah, we do pay attention to that. It does matter. I think again, for the quality of life, right? People just want some of those advantages that they see when they're in larger communities, and we get that. Part of the challenge we have in attracting a lot of those concepts and retailers, quite frankly, is where we sit. So because we are right out on the western edge of Kansas, when we're talking about distribution and how product will get to that end user, whether it's a retailer or a restaurant or whatever, we literally would be the very end of a Kansas City distribution network, or the very end of a Wichita distribution network, or an Oklahoma City, or a Dallas, or a Denver. It's like right where we sit. It requires them to actually deadhead, if you will, for lack of a better way of saying it. That's kind of the term we use in logistics, right?
Right.
They would have to basically deadhead to get to us and serve that. So it is an added challenge for sure when we're talking about how do we get some of those concepts out here. We're having those conversations constantly. We're helping them problem solve that. We're saying, hey, we've got a little land. We'd be happy to build another distribution center out here for you too, if you're interested in that. So it's, again, not as simple as making our community attractive. Our community is very attractive to those restaurants and retailers. As a community, we hit $1 billion in sales a few years ago. That's a big number, and that's a number that really kind of signals to a lot of those retailers and restaurants that, this is a real market. They've arrived, right? We can show very clearly through the trends out here that we are our own economic region. So we don't function as a part of the Wichita Metro or the Kansas City Metro. Or Oklahoma City, obviously where we sit. You've heard John Dahl say this a lot of times. We're a long ways from a metro area, right? We need to be taking care of our own out here. So again, we really serve as our own metro area, and once we're able to show that and really explain that to those retailers and those restaurants, it makes our case a little easier. But yeah, then it's just about getting them kind of over that hump, if you will, and saying, all right, we'll take a chance on the market and see what happens. So if they're always successful when they do. It's just getting them to believe us.
Yeah, those chats crack me up. Like, for instance, when Seven Brew opened, and it was announced that it was going to be another coffee place, people were just, how many coffee places do we need, blah, 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 blah. Then I drive by it the other day, and it's wrapped around the building with the line, and I'm like, obviously it needed to happen.
Right.
They're all staying busy. I'm not a foo-foo coffee guy, so I don't participate in the drive-through coffee, but I do like places like sit-down coffee places like Patrick Dugan's, which just announced that they're looking for new ownership as they want to retire and whatnot. Do you guys have any involvement in existing businesses when they try to make that transition to try to help find a new owner for them?
We do, yeah. So we offer legacy. We call that legacy planning. We offer that in a lot of different ways. Sometimes that's a retail business like Patrick Dugan's, for instance, that's that's looking to transfer to the next generation of ownership. In that case, certainly we can identify buyers. We can help tell the story. We can help package the deal. We can help with pro formas. We can help with gap financing. So, if we identify a buyer and they need some help with getting their financing, completed, those types of things, we absolutely do that. We have a small business development center rep in our office, so available to help with all the business planning, forecasting, pro formas, all of that kind of stuff. So sometimes that's the role that we play in legacy planning. Sometimes it's even family businesses, that are operating, one generation is operating them today, but they want to be able to transition to that next generation. And sometimes that's hard in the family dynamic for them to make that transition. And so a lot of times we have those family businesses coming to us and saying, hey, we're ready for the kids to kind of take their reins, but we don't know how to tell them what they don't know, right? We've just been running the business. So for us, we think it's this, but maybe it's that, and maybe there's things changing and so forth. So a lot of times it's us working with that next generation. Sometimes it's the next generation that is ready to take over, and maybe the first generation is still hanging on a little bit. And so they come in and say, hey, can you help us tell mom and dad that they ought to take a little more time off and travel? And, well, maybe we can help with that, right? So legacy planning really works in a lot of different ways. But we prefer that businesses come to us and at least give us a chance to help them either market to a new owner or do a transition. The thing we really hate is when we see on Facebook or we hear from somebody on the street that, oh yeah, such and such is just closing down. They're tired and they want to retire and whatever. And we're like, oh my gosh, they had a great business that we could have sold. We could have helped them, actually position themselves for retirement better than they are, and all the things. So we really like it when they give us the opportunity before they make a decision to quit. But but also understand that sometimes that's just not in the cards, and we understand that. But yeah, love to help existing businesses make transition. Love to help existing businesses grow. If there's opportunities for folks, that's a big part of what we do, right? We spend as much time helping our current industry grow as we do recruiting new industry. So, it's exciting stuff.
It's a lot that we've covered today, and I know that you guys still have a lot more that you do as well. If somebody wanted more information, how would they go about finding that out?
Yeah, super easy. We are super transparent, so they can certainly go to our website. It's FICOEDC.com. If they just search for Finney County Economic Development, they'll get to us that way. Always welcome folks stopping by the office. We're at 114 West Pine in downtown Garden City. Really, really great location, and certainly if they want to meet at a coffee shop, I am a foo-foo coffee drinker. I'm happy to meet them in a coffee shop. They can call our office if they'd rather to get more information, 620-271-0388.
I got really excited when I pulled up here. I got to park out front.
Woohoo.
Every time I go somewhere downtown, I never get up front parking.
Yeah.
It's always like half a block or a block down the way, and especially the parallel parking you guys have here instead of the angled parking.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So I was pretty excited.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Otherwise, we tell people, this is a great way to get your steps in. Come to downtown Garden City. You're gonna get your steps in. Yeah.
I got an image to maintain. I can't get too many steps in.
I understand.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and
Absolutely.
good luck with everything you guys got going on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. That is Lona Duvall from the Finney County Economic Development here on Hydro Resources Community Brunch. We'll catch us again next week for yet another interview.
Increasing the lifespan of your well should be one of your top priorities. Calling Hydro Resources is the easy solution to do just that. Since the 1940s as Hinkle Drilling and 1999 as Hydro Resources, they have been providing groundwater service and solutions to ag producers, municipalities, and more. Whether it's well drilling and construction, pumping system design and installation, controls, pump services and maintenance, or well services and rehabilitation, Hydro Resources is the answer. Find out more information at hydroresources.com. With locations in Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, they have a wide service area, so let them help you with your groundwater needs today.
This has been the Hydro Resources Community Brunch on Dry River Radio. Join us next week to see what community we visit next. As always, you can catch up on episodes on our Facebook or YouTube pages or at dryriverservices.com.